Some call it the greatest theme park in the world. Some call it the greatest Disney park ever created. You have probably never been to it if you're watching this video. Why? Because it's not in America. It's not in China either, and it's not in Europe. We're talking about Tokyo Disney Sea. They've just announced a new expansion, and we are gonna dig right in here on That Park Place. Hello, everyone, and welcome to That Park Place, where we like to break down all the entertainment, streaming, video game, and theme park news. We do tend to talk about theme parks quite a bit. I am Jonas J. Campbell, and with me, as always, is my co-pilot, Vash Sky.
Oh, thank you so much for that lovely introduction, Jonas. You always knock those out of the park, so thank you very much. Hey, yeah, I think you're all right, though. I mean, some people really do consider this to be the greatest theme park on the planet, and it is getting so much bigger. And now that we have a date for when that's actually going to be.
Yeah, so for those of you who are American and unfamiliar with what's going on here, Tokyo Disneyland was founded some time ago, and it's basically a licensing agreement with the Walt Disney Company. So the Oriental Land Company actually owns all of the Tokyo and Japan Disney parks. And there is some oversight on the part of the Disney Company, but for the most part, OLC they have this. I'm sure it's a well-worded document that says that OLC gets to do what they want to do, which also happens to be the Disney image. I've never been, but Vash, do you want to inform people a little bit about what makes Tokyo Disney Sea different?
Everything. No, I mean, it's Tokyo.
It's a magical place.
Yes, Tokyo Disneyland opens on April 15th, 1983. And yeah, the Oriental Land Company has stunning success with the original park. And, well, as things develop, they get a little landlocked, and it's like, hey, maybe we should expand this out to a second theme park. And that's the kind of the origin of Tokyo Disney Sea. But at that time, the Oriental Land Company actually just wanted Tokyo Disneyland again. They wanted Cinderella Castle again. They wanted Small World again. And just kind of, let's just, do two. And it took the Imagineers some convincing of the Oriental Land Company executives to go, oh, wait a minute. Let's try doing something a little bit different. What they eventually did was a little bit clever, because it was like, hey, you see this amazing volcano right here? That's your Cinderella Castle. You see this little boat right here with this little Arabian Nights story? Well, that's your Small World right there. And that's how they kind of were able to convince Oriental Land Company executives. But it has blossomed into one of, one of, if not the greatest theme parks of all time. The amount of quality there is absolutely stunning. And this opened the same year that Disney California Adventure did. The budgets, that's the big difference in these two stories.
That's true. All right. Well, see, this is the great thing about having an expert here to bounce things off of. So today we want to talk about the new expansion going into Tokyo Disney Sea. These are some things that I would have assumed were already there if you described the greatest theme park perhaps ever in existence. They're getting Fantasy Springs, Tokyo Disney Sea expansion, Fantasy Springs, opening in June of 2024. This by Explorer AJ of TDR Explorer. Vash, thank you for the article. Tokyo Disney Sea's highly anticipated expansion, Fantasy Springs, is set to welcome visitors June 6th, 2024, representing the most significant expansion ever at Tokyo Disney Resort. The new land promises to immerse guests in the enchanting realms of Frozen, Tangled, and Peter Pan. The substantial expansion, the park's 8th port of call, will include 4 attractions, restaurant, shops, and a luxury hotel overlooking Disney Sea, which is said to be the most luxurious accommodations at Tokyo Disney Resort.
Wow, that's really a claim there, because Tokyo Disney Resort has some amazing locations to stay at. If you've guys, look them up on YouTube. I mean, they are amazing accommodations. To put out that claim is truly significant. And the claim of this being the largest expansion, outside of the actual new park, that's absolutely correct. We're talking 34 acres here, 140,000 square meters. 34 acres. To put that in perspective, folks, Star Wars Galaxy's Edge was 14 acres. Cars Land, anywhere between 10 to 12 acres. all of DCA is 72 acres. So take, half that park and, slap it onto Tokyo Disney Sea and imbue $2.1 billion worth of ride shows and attractions. And that's what you get here with Fantasy Springs.
You know what I love in looking at this? They even have rainbows on the concept art.
Yeah, yeah, yes. Well, I mean, it is a fantasy like land, so I think rainbows would be appropriate.
And it's looking like it's going to cost 2.1 billion to build it. Again,
Yep.
if we're comparing it to Galaxy's Edge, this is about double the cost of Galaxy's Edge, or how much was spent on both Galaxy's Edges at
Disney
Hollywood
Hollywood Studios.
Studios and
Hmm.
also Disneyland Park.
Yep.
I struggle so much because I want to call it Magic Kingdom at Disneyland, but it's Disneyland.
Yeah, it's Disneyland. I know a lot of people. Well, I mean the what is it? The recording for the train says Walt's original Magic Kingdom. So
That's
you're
right.
not too far off there.
All right, so it looks like we're getting one Frozen attraction. I'm gonna focus on the big ticket items here, even
Please.
though we'll do mention there is one small snack shop. Got to get excited about that.
Right.
They're getting a Frozen attraction, a Rapunzel attraction, two attractions in Peter Pan's Neverland, which they're staying strong with those Peter Pan attractions. I'm continually surprised at how popular all of those Peter Pan attractions are at every park they're in.
Oh
So,
yes.
Fantasy Springs expansion is located in a former parking area. There's a common theme between Tokyo Disneyland and Tokyo Disney Sea, connected by a passageway between the Arabian coast and Lost River Delta. I love the way that those flow when you're talking about theme parks. So here's the expansion down here, and
Yep.
soaring. This must be an old map. Is this an old map that they're talking about soaring down there?
Yeah, it that might be a little bit out of date. I mean, obviously, we don't have the we don't have the construction of this new land included in that map there. Just a kind of a little bit of an arrangement, but it gives you an idea of where
Yeah.
this can go. And if you want to broaden this out, you mentioned before Tokyo Disneyland, Tokyo Disney Sea. What are we missing? Tokyo Disney Sky, maybe?
Oh.
And you can see that adjacent parking lot there. Well, they might have some plans for that in the future.
Now, here's where it's a little bit different and a part that's probably going to be a little bit more controversial to guests. In order
Right.
to enter Fantasy Springs, guests must have a valid Tokyo Disney Sea theme park ticket, of course. But they have to have either a standby pass or a Disney Premier Access pass in order to enter the area at a specified time. So you don't just get free access when it opens.
Right. Yeah. So it's not going to be necessarily available to anybody who's just buying a ticket on day one, which is very interesting. We've seen these kind of, let's say, these land-based reservation systems or restrictions. I believe the first one I think we've encountered here in the States was Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. When that actually opened, there was like a preview period in which you could enroll into. And then they expected a kind of a virtual queue to emanate from the opening of that, and well, that didn't last long. But then we have seen this idea renewed with the Super Nintendo land over here in Hollywood, where they have some pretty good restrictions with that. You can get an early access pass that gives you access to that land, and a lot of people recommend that as if you were trying to see that land that day, that's where you can go. Here in Japan, because the crowds are so out of control, just in general, but especially with these new offerings, they're enforcing some restrictions here that are, they're up there. I mean, I have to parse out whether or not you have to buy these, like, do you have to get a ticket and then get a standby pass as well? Disney Premier Access pass as well? I have to kind of figure this out here. It says standby bypass is a free service, but this Disney Premier Access right here, which gives you access to this land, you're going to have to buy that in addition. So this is a really kind of interesting thing here.
It sounds like maybe that with a paid service that allows you to specify the experience time and use attractions with short waiting times. It sounds like it's fast pass, but it also guarantees you a spot in the park.
Right. Okay.
Maybe.
All right.
Now, looking down here, it says the Frozen ride is Anna and Elsa's Frozen Journey, Rapunzel's Lantern Festival, and Peter Pan's Neverland Adventure. Well, while Fairy Tinkerbell's Busy Buggy is only available on the standby pass.
I wonder if Fairy Tinkerbell's Busy Buggy, which doesn't look like to be like I don't know, a big ride or an amazing
Yeah, that
ride.
does sound like a child's ride, or one that might be more appealing to younger park guests.
Yeah, I exactly, and I wonder if there's a capacity limitation in there as well, which is why they're gonna enforce some of these restrictions even with those kind of attractions. There's gonna be demand for this for sure.
Oh, this water feature looks amazing. I hope it
Right.
comes out the way that they're intending, because if
Look
it
at the night
does,
shot here if you scroll down.
yeah. Oh, look at that. That's
Oh
like some
yeah.
Pandora level effects right there.
Well, the Oriental Land Company was given a tour of Pandora to see if they would want that, and well, this is their kind of incarnation of it. So it's
Do you
interesting you
see
say that.
who's peeking out in the waterfall here?
Oh
The
yeah,
magic mirror. And this concept art looks amazing. And of course, Frozen Kingdom, that they probably are going to take some inspiration from what's at Hong Kong. It sounds
absolutely.
like they won't have the very short bobsleds, the Wandering Oaken's bobsled that takes you on a 45-second trip around the mountain.
No, no, but they'll have some pretty amazing attractions, and it sounds like to me, I'm looking at the kind of the design of the boats and so forth. It sounds like to me that their Elsa and Anna attraction is going to be a little bit more substantial than what we have at Epcot and at what is it, Hong Kong. So I think that's where they went with it.
Ah, very good. I hope that all these frozen lands aren't horribly dated in a few years. Sometimes that's the risk with getting into a new IP very quickly. But of course, the Disney company doesn't care if it's popular now. They're going to convince you it's popular by putting it in their park and then standing the test of time.
Right, right. I mean, that's the worry, right? I mean, there has been some discussion about if you dedicate a single land to a single IP, does are do these things become dated faster? It's a very interesting discussion. Again, I think this is what is it? I think this is the first time that Tokyo has done something like this. So we're just gonna have to find out here.
Right. I'm of course remembering the new Fantasyland expansion when that came about, and that was beautiful and amazing.
Right.
I think the Ariel ride and Snow White's, sorry, the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train were of course the larger, more substantial parts of that expansion that people remember, at least on the Fantasyland side.
Right.
Enchanted Storytime with Belle, some of the effects were amazing, but it's not really the headliner, of course, of the Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
It's very interesting you say that, Jonas, because Seven Dwarfs Mine Train originally wasn't going to be part of the plans at all. Originally, it was going to be, Belle's Enchanted Story Time, or whatever the name of that attraction is. You just said it, and
Oh, I think
it's
that
that memorable.
it might be the same words in different order.
All
Enchanted
right.
Storytime with Belle, or
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And again, Imagineering, just because you've put more words in the title doesn't mean it's a better title, guys.
Well, exactly, right? And they were going to do that, but like times four or whatever. You're going to
Oh
be
my.
like, they were going to have each individual princess represented. Pixie Hollow was going to be represented. And this is when Jay Rasulo ran that division of the company. When his position was switched with Tom Staggs came in actually mid construction and said, well, wait a minute, there's nothing for my boys to actually do here. Can we do something else? And that's when Seven Dwarfs Mine Train was finally added to that project mid construction. Very
Gotcha.
interesting how New Fantasyland could have been very different. Oriental Land Company executives, they're even far more demanding. So any of these attractions that you see here are going to be world class, state of the art. This Rapunzel area here is going to feature one attraction and one restaurant. This attraction is going to be a boat ride, kind of similar in flavor to the Frozen attraction, but obviously Tangled theme. So this is really, really cool here.
Yes, this also looks obviously much more developed than the what's at Magic Kingdom right now.
Oh,
You
yes.
can see a forced perspective tower off in the distance, and there's a courtyard in there in whatever the kingdom of Rapunzel is.
That Tangled restrooms.
The Tangled. That's a good way to put it. There's a lot of theming there, and there's a lot of detail, but it's
Yeah.
easy to walk by because it's really nothing there if you're just walking by it. It's something that you have to appreciate it in order to understand what's going on there. I'll put it that
A-
way.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Some great
Uh,
concept art. I'd love to have that hanging up in my office.
yes.
And
Yeah.
look, it's a boat.
It is a boat, and again, these are pretty substantial boats that they have going through. And with larger ride vehicles, we can only assume larger sets, larger, set pieces, more audio animatronics. I mean, This is very ambitious here. This is not some small-ish boat right with like what we see at the second attraction at Pandora, or even some of the smaller attractions like maybe the Frozen attraction at Epcot. These are much bigger in scale here.
Oh, and here is
Oh
the
yes,
pièce de la résistance, Peter Pan's
absolutely.
Neverland. Peter Pan, it just appears to be one of those stories that every single Disney park gets Peter Pan, and it is a massive hit wherever it is. It's one of those IPs that I love it, but I always underestimate what the appeal is because the line goes on forever at every single Disney park for the Peter Pan rides, even though those rides maybe are not using the most modern technologies.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's so stunning, right? This simple concept. I believe the original Peter Pan attraction, they were using what is it? Kind of a conveyor belt or kind of a factory kind of a mechanism to transport large resources around, and it was like, okay, well, what if we use one of those? And what if we actually have this kind of Captain Hook's boat underneath it? Let's
Uh,
go ahead and put guests on there. And it was such a simplistic idea, but one that resonated with every single person. I remember
mhm.
Ray Bradbury saying, "I will be eternally grateful to you, Walt Disney, that you've allowed me to, fly off and soar over London." I mean, it's just something that hits all of us right here. This is the bigger, more just extravagant, what is it, modern version of this attraction right here that you're actually seeing.
Right.
And from what we are hearing, this is very ambitious.
Right. So I'll just read the description here. Peter Pan's Neverland adventure invites guests to join the Lost Boys, Peter Pan, and Tinkerbell on an epic adventure through Neverland to rescue John from Captain Hook and his pirates. The 6 minute ride attraction features 3D goggles. Oh, never mind. And has a minimum height requirement of 102 centimeters.
So
Uh,
we're guessing that this is going to be like their version of the Pandora e-ticket
mhm.
attraction in I believe Flight of Passage at Avatar and Animal Kingdom. Like this is their version of that. But what's
Mhm.
interesting about this is these vehicles are very similar to the vehicles they just recently announced with the Marvel attraction coming to DCA. So and we've gotten confirmation that they might be practical effects with that as well. Are we going to see that here? It's going to be very interesting to see what this attraction is like when it opens because this is the big e-ticket for this land.
Right. And if anyone is needing a reference for how big the difference is between a classic ride and what some of the more modern takes are, go look up what the Pirates of the Caribbean ride looks like at Shanghai Disney.
Right.
And it's based more around, even though obviously the movies are based on the ride. In this case, the ride is based off the movies, which are based on the ride, and there are things that will blow your mind if you're expecting uh, a couple of guys shaking a bone at an animatronic dog.
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
No
it's
disrespect to the original ride.
not at all, not at all. I think they're two different flavors. They're two different experiences. One is a very passive attraction. The other is a very active attraction. One is a more traditional boat ride. The other is like a God. It's a ride vehicle in water. It's so crazy how
Mhm.
those things compare right here. This ferry, Tinkerbell's busy buggy, is very interesting because it to me it kind of almost maybe looks like Pooh's Honey Hunt 2.0 a
Mhm.
little bit. I don't know if it's going to be a traditional dark ride or a what is it, wireless controlled vehicles or whatever. But hey, the artwork's really really good, and to get a dark ride on this
Yes.
scale is really nice.
This poster evokes some of the older Disney attractions, classic Disney attractions, even though
Yes.
it's in a modern, maybe a watercolor style, but it still has that 1960s look to it in the way that the characters are presented. I appreciate that.
Yep.
And this is, as they say, oh, look, it looks like you're supposed to be miniaturized to the size of a fairy there for it. That's good.
Yes. Yes.
All right. So I think, and there's their Fantasy Springs Hotel. Looks amazing.
Oh yes, 475 rooms, luxurious accommodations. I haven't been that impressed with the exterior of this thing. I'm very very hopeful for the interiors. We'll see.
All right. Well, that is fascinating. It just renews my idea that I want to go out to Tokyo Disneyland one day. I want to go out to Tokyo Disney Sea and just give it everything I've got to have that Disney trip that maybe we aren't experiencing here in the States.
Imagine if the Walt Disney Company and the Imagineers were given money. That's what you see out there in Tokyo Disney Sea, and it's bonkers. It's so crazy how over the top they go. But Oriental Land Company's executives, they are very, very demanding. It's like, look, if we're going to spend $1 billion, we want to see it, right?
Right.
Like, it's got to be forward facing, it's got to be front and center. They want the very, very best that they can possibly give their guests. And honestly, frankly, it shows. I mean, it's that commitment to quality that is inspired by that culture.
It's amazing that they can do that on a lower ticket price as well. So if you want to, you might have heard that there's $60 billion being invested into the theme parks over the next 10 years. We
Right.
do have a video talking about that here on this channel. If you want to see why that's not really that much money, spoiler alert, you can go watch that video. It is amazing to see the quality and craftsmanship that goes into these Japan parks. And even though it's just concept art here, we already see so much is being packed into one area. This isn't blue sky. This isn't 10 years. We're thinking about maybe we're going to retheme Dino Land over at
Right.
Animal Kingdom into maybe incorporating Frozen. By the way, everyone tell us what you think about that before we spend the money. They're going bold. They're doing Frozen. They're doing Tinkerbell. They're doing Peter Pan.
Well, and here's the thing too. They're spending over $500 million on redoing their Space Mountain out there as well. So it's not just a commitment towards some of these new additions, right? It's like, hey, we are landlocked. We have an attraction in the form of Space Mountain, which is very similar to the 1977 version of Space Mountain that opened at Disneyland. But it's like, hey, it's a little passé. A lot of the Oriental Land Companies executives got their eyes are yeah, they hooked their eyes on Cosmic Rewind, and we're like, whoa, we want one of those. And it's like, okay, well, we take down Space Mountain and we rebuild it with that new technology. That's just the commitment that they have to, we are going to have the best experiences on the planet. And you're seeing that here with Fantasy Springs. Like I said, guys, $2.1 billion. This is 34 acres in size. This is a massive, massive expansion, and you are going to see every bit of that dollar amount right in front of you.
That's amazing. When people bring up that old quote that's usually justified in taking down a classic attraction, that Walt Disney would never consider the parks to be finished, that he wanted them to be updated continuously. This is the kind of thing he was talking about.
Yes.
Not tearing down the rides that people really like and really love and saying, you know what, we're going to do something else, as opposed to we're going to do something better. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in to Two Guys Talking About Theme Parks. Stay tuned here to That Park Place. If you like this video, consider liking this video, subscribing, sharing it out on social media. You can follow us at the Twitter handles above, and subscribe to That Park Place for all the news that should be fun.
Thanks for watching That Park Place News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com for all the news that should be fun. Don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.